Apple is scheduled to report first quarter earnings on Thursday, May 1st, after the market close. In the previous quarter, Apple reported revenue of $124.3 billion, beating estimates by $273.49 million. The reported earnings per share of $2.40 per share, beating by 5 cents. For this quarter, Apple is expected to produce $94.06 billion in revenue and $1.61 earnings per share. Over the last 90 days, 5 analysts have raised estimates and 22 analysts lowered estimates. Apple meets or beats analysts' one-year forward estimates 82% of the time. The options market is pricing an implied move of plus or minus 5.18%. As we turn our attention to the Apple price chart, I closed out my Apple position on January the 3rd of this year, and since that time we've been on a steady decline, and especially with the tariff announcements we saw a pretty steep decline, but have since recovered back to about a $210 range. Apple is trading right at its 5-day simple moving average, trading above a declining 20-day moving average. It's trading below a declining 50-day moving average, and there was a 50-day crossover of the 200 earlier in April. When we look at the RSI, it is currently sitting at 52.7. We have seen improvement from a very oversold condition to the current point in time. When we look at the PPO, we had a signal line crossover to the upside probably 2 weeks or so ago. The PPO is still trading in the negative range. When we look at the price action for Apple compared to the SPX, the momentum is exceeding that of the SPX at the moment, and the price action is pretty much right in line with the SPX. As far as accumulation over the last year, we could say it was pretty much flat until about the end of December of last year, where we've seen a slight improvement in accumulation. When we look at the money flow, we can see that it's currently above the midpoint. When we look at the relative price action of Apple compared to the SPY, we can see that it's exceeded that of the SPY by 14.44%. It's exceeded the technology sector by 19.89%, and it's exceeded its own industry group by 4.34%. On the Apple 5-year weekly trend chart, the price is trading below the long-term averages, indicating weakness. We have moved into a negative long-term weakness. We can see the same in the midterm. It has looked like it found a bottom and is rolling over and is improving now for the midterm. And in the short term, we can see that we have some positive price action. When we look at some key metrics from Seeking Alpha, we can see that Apple is priced at a premium to the sector. Apple is trading at a forward PE of 28.76 versus the sector at 19.85. Looking at the growth rates, we can see that Apple is growing slower related to EPS and revenue compared to the sector. For EPS, Apple is expected to grow over the next year 9.17% compared to the sector at 10.69. The expected revenue growth for Apple over the next year is 4.34 compared to the sector at 6.77. When we look at the profitability, we can see that Apple is more profitable than the sector average. Apple has a net margin of 24.3% compared to that of the sector at 4.02%. Taking a look at Apple in fast graphs, we can see that Apple is traded at a blended PE of 29.83 times. The EPS yield is 3.35, dividend yield of 0.74. Over this 13-year period, which includes 10 years of actuals and 3 years into the future, the adjusted operating earning growth rate for Apple is 13.92%. Fast Graphs calculates the fair value ratio at 15 times. And Apple normally trades at a premium. The marketplace is a premium, so it has a normal PE of 21.56, which is this blue line. So we can see that it is trading even above its normal PE at the moment and quite a bit above its fair value. Analysts are expecting 8% growth for the remainder of this fiscal year, which ends in September. The following year at 11%, and in 2027, 8%. From where it's currently trading, if it continues to trade at this level, we could expect a price at the end of this year, fiscal year, to be about 218 or so. If we do get a pullback in Apple to even its normal PE, we could see a price as low as 157.81 by the end of this fiscal year, which would be a total rate of return of about minus 25% at this point. I want to thank you for watching and hope the earnings preview was helpful. Talk to you again soon. Have a great day. Thank you and trade well.